Hey there, welcome to my show again. I'm so glad you're back. I love talking about houses, and that's exactly what I do right here and right now. So today we're talking about Tudor homes, well, more specifically Tudor revival style in the American neighborhood. So this first house, so it's a Tudor home, and we know a little bit about the Tudor style, right? It kind of is evocative of the medieval era of both the continent and also England. It's on a nice corner lot. You know, I feel for the designer, the architect of this house. You're on a corner, and so you're committing to this kind of Tudor style only so far, right? Went from the very far end of that house around the front, beautiful little entryway there out of the rain with a little arch. Then comes around, she gets to the chimney, she says, "That's enough. We're going to stop there." So fair enough, right? I mean, you're only committed to so much, and it definitely has great curb appeal as a Tudor house. But once you get around the side, it's a little bit more, you know, of a mix. What's not Tudor about this side? Well, the windows are. I mean, windows are generally thin and tall in Tudor homes, kind of like almost like a castle look to it. So these windows are definitely in the same room, obviously, of the house, because this fireplace is right between them, and there's probably a great fireplace. Then this is probably another bedroom in the back, a little. It's got a slightly wider window. And now the siding is really giving up the ghost for Tudor, which is fine. It's a big siding, maybe like asbestos shingle or something, probably pretty low maintenance. The Tudors are cursed a lot of times with early stucco, right? Because they do this stucco with what's called half timbering, is something you see pretty much exclusively in Tudor houses. In the original, you know, that would have been the structure of the house in the original Tudor period in the early 1600s. But in this case, it's decorative. And on the half timbering here, it's really pretty effective. I think this actually changes in size just slightly as it goes across. Is that my imagination? Let me know what you think in the comments. Then it also ends up with these two little kind of arches, which is pretty. And then you end up with another little nice symmetrical, very simple thing with it gets wider and gets narrower. What I love about this house is it's very reasonable. It's not, it has a 12-12 roof on both gable ends, right? I think one of them goes all the way through in the back, and then the one here on the front is just a dominant kind of end gable. But 12-12 is a reasonable amount of space versus height. It works for Tudor, right? It's reasonable because you can actually have a nice upstairs, and you're not just too affected by too steep a roof. It feels very calm to me, and I like it. I like the green personally. Let me know what you think of this color. Another thing I found on Street View for this house is what it used to be, and this is, yeah, I mean, this is what you see everywhere with Tudor houses, right? You see the half timbering, and then you see white stucco, and with brown, which is very traditional, but I think it's a little overplayed, and I think it's a little, in this case, I don't think it serves the house. I really like these bricks. So the brickwork here, there's at least 4 sizes of brick here, and it gives it a nice organic feeling to it, right? It's not too regular, but it's not too irregular. It doesn't distract from the facade. So when you can see from the side, look up here. So this looks like what we call a clip gable, which is where you take your gable end and you chop off a little bit of it. From the front, it looks like that, but it's not. It's actually just a little bit of roof. I think it's a nice look, because if it was just a giant triangle, it would really play against the Tudor look on this house. What I like about this little gable is it is actually probably more than 12-12. So it carries the theme a little further, but it doesn't have any of the sacrifice that the main roof has to give up to be that steep, right? So that's reasonable there. I love the big chimney on this gable end here. I think that's a really nice addition. So what do we think of Mrs. Green? I think she's a nice house. I think that it was very reasonably designed and very reasonably built. I think they defined the scope correctly of what they wanted, and then they kind of abandoned some of the trappings of Tudor as they went around the corner, which I am fine with that. Not so much for the next one. Let's take a look. Okay, this guy. What are we going to call this guy? Medieval times. This guy, yeah, it's very Tudor, very opinionated in its style of being a Tudor. And I'm just going to say right off the bat that something doesn't sit well with this. It's probably a very expensive house, and we'll put that at the end to what its internet valuation is. I mean, just knowing this neighborhood, if you were to see behind this house, you would see there is an amazing view. So let's just point out a couple little things first, just of what we know about Tudors, and then try to break this down into why this is not working. So in a Tudor Revival house, you have a lot of the same elements, and we mentioned some of them in the first, but let's just go over it again. So you often have windows that are grouped together. You often have hipped roofs or very steep roofs, thatched roof feel and look, so it's very medieval. You have, a lot of times you have the facade of stucco or brick. A lot of times it's brick on the first floor and then it's stucco with half timbering, and that's what this is. Very often you'll have some Renaissance style things kind of mixed in, like this. This is a Palladian kind of door entryway. These kind of castle windows, very vertical, that's very medieval. This is more Renaissance style again here, but all right, let's dive into this house and what it is I really don't like about it. I think in this case, the fact that you go from kind of tan to light to dark with these three masses, and then the top one is not at all regular, right? You have a dormer on this side, which is a shed dormer, and then I think this is actually a hipped dormer on this side, meaning it's got roof on three sides. These windows are really grouped together and they relate to the window below and to some extent. These windows have nothing to do with the windows below. They've really kind of boxed themselves in with all this brickwork, and the brickwork's interesting. It's the variety of brick plus the stone around the doorway. That's not terrible. What's really interesting is this garage. Weird how to kind of maintain what you got going on roof-wise here and then make this look right. I think in this case, gosh, I almost would have done a side gable roof, maybe a little steeper side gable, and let the roof be here. But instead, they look at this angle. It changes. The angle comes down and it slightly changes by a couple of degrees in order to get the property line at the right spot. That's very strange to me. Then you have another hip gable here, which had another opportunity to be a little more massive. And then you have siding down the side. So you've got no siding showing here except this kind of garage door look. And then you bring back the siding here. Very uncomfortable. And then look at this. You got a little bit of a gap right here between this dormer. The dormer's been eaten up by the gable end. Yeah, this house does not sit right. I feel indigestion with it. Maybe this whole light section just wants to be deleted and the roof wants to set nicely down on the brick. That's what it does. That's what it wants. We've got swelling here. This thing just looks like it's swelling and it doesn't seem to resolve itself. And look at the top of the windows. They have no half timbering. It's like they have half timbering on this window, but then when they got here, they didn't quite have enough to bring it up, or they just really wanted to accentuate how it's so clean up there. But yeah, overall, I know this is a nice house, and I think you're gonna, when you see the valuation at the end of this video, you'll see, yes, it's a nice house, a nice neighborhood, nice, reasonable, but I just feel a little bit of something not right, and I think we've diagnosed it successfully. Okay, so this house, the last house, this is my bless her heart house. So here we are. Look at this beauty. Look at this blue beaut. So this is definitely Tudor. What did I have on the date on this one? 1926, right in the heart of the money that was coming in before the Great Depression in 1929. Oh my gosh. Let's just take a moment and really appreciate her, because she is so far Tudor. She is like so committed, like she's like committing to a neck tattoo. That's how committed this house is. And I bet that I bet someone loves this house. I love this house. Let's dive into it. Okay, so what do we have here? So in this case, we have a gable-ended house, very steep roof. Then it's got an asymmetric entryway. It's got a little, sometimes they call these an oriel, and sometimes they call these a bay, a half hexagonal bay. So that comes out from under this eave. It's got a little half timbering on the side. Looks like this has all been stuccoed, at least on this side. I think it's all stuccoed. I see some siding back here. Look at how they integrated the garage. So they have a little one-car garage, probably about the same time it was built or right afterwards. And they just said, honey, you can be under my roof. And they just kind of brought the roof right out into this beautiful ski ramp that jumps right onto the neighbor's property. Wow. I mean, you could have gotten a bunch more room had you done another side gable out. Instead, you could have had a whole nother room over the garage with its own window. But man, this is a great one. So let's look at this entryway. It's nice. It looks kind of deep. It looks like it's at least 2 feet deep. Plus you have the gable sticks out over the top of the house. So that you get a little bit of rain protection there, a little step up. In this case, this is actually called a Tudor arch. If you see this kind of segmented straight arch, and the door is actually built, and this is even a screen door, I think, that is built onto it. So that's beautiful. Yeah, what is that? Where does that go? It's so dark in there, kind of mysterious. Does it go all the way past the garage into the backyard? Is that a tunnel? Did I want to know? That's pretty freaking cool. I really love this house. I really, really do. The house is pretty reasonable. It's very symmetrical in some aspects, and some it's very not. So look at the entryway. The entryway is way over here on the left side, which is nice because that's kind of where you would get out of a car. And they felt compelled to bring back a staircase in the middle of the lot for some reason and kind of wing it over at an angle there, but good on them. This is a little strange to me. So this is great. I'm fine with this. This is kind of 70s A-frame feeling to me a little bit, but once you get down under this little bay addition, then these windows don't make so much sense. This is Tudor style. You would have a lot of little windows with little lights. I just wonder why it's not centered or why it's more off-center, because you could even bring it all the way to this corner and start it under the center of this, and that would be more interesting to me. I have a hard time imagining that the upstairs of this house feels all that great. I think the windows are really tiny and they're probably in funny spots, and there's a lot of ceiling that's coming down into your world. Hey, let's talk about roofing for a second, because how are you gonna roof this house? I mean, maybe the better option is just to lay the house over on its side and shingle one side and lay the house the other way and shingle it, because it's not gonna be easy. Back to there. There's a little surprise. Okay, wait, you gotta see this. Look at this side of the screen. Do you think that was an accident? Do you think that the truck came around to put porta potties on the street, and the owner of the house like chose through all of them and chose this blue because it should have been placed in front of this house? I think that's funny. And I'm not saying anything nasty about that house. I think that is one of my more favorite houses. I also really feel for the people who just committed so intensely to what the Tudor aesthetic was. And yeah, I kind of love this house. Like, I'm crushing on this house a little bit, even though it's like, I know she's not good for me, but I keep wanting to go back and look at her. I hope you enjoyed this. I think I got some really interesting craftsmen coming up for you next. Please like and subscribe, and really thank you for joining me. It's really fun to be making these, and hopefully you enjoy them. Thanks.